Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode where I will be rating your Fall Guys creative maps that are submitted to me through various sources. Did everyone find some interest in what I have mentioned for the maps that I have rated in my first episode? Regardless, I hope that you have learned something new as to how people would look at certain maps, and let's move on to the maps that will be covered in this particular episode. Again, as a quick reminder that I will always be rating maps on three different criteria that are mentioned in the first point, that being overall gameplay, how bean friendly it is, and the amount of aesthetics that are present. I will also be giving my thoughts on the maps as I run through them so that the gameplay will not be as dull as some people might worry, because being a new content creator, there will always be some issues that will be experienced by newer players where they are a little less confident in doing such things. Lastly, to remind you guys, really only 5 maps will be covered per video to create a pleasant viewing experience. With that, let's move on to the first map in this particular episode. Our first map in this episode is titled Unfinished Color Book by the creator Reina. Am I actually in a tree, or am I just in a unfinished color book, as the title of the map would say? Am I able to walk on this piece of floor right here? And it seems that I am unable to. It would seem that is actually a visible object, which I think newer players might struggle to understand at first. But regardless, let's move on to the actual gameplay. As I'm currently showing you, there is actually a separate color scheme for the places that you can walk on, and as well as the visible object I was referring to earlier. But anyways, the details on this map is really well thought out. The placements, everything. Let's shift this fan block, which I think newer players might not understand that this block has to be shifted. Let's bounce ourselves onto the bed, and for some funsies, let's take a seat on the bed. Anyways, the bed itself, as you can see, is relatively well designed. And once again, I have fallen off the bed because I decided to make a fool of myself. The drawers, the shirts, everything all has such fine detail in this particular map itself. And onto the table itself. Reaching our first checkpoint in this particular map, we will instantly notice that are actually windows, and the most attention to detail is this little pink cat right over here. For players who are a little more impatient, please don't be careless and decide to completely fall through the floor, as you're supposed to navigate through the sides of the platform itself in order to reach the next particular checkpoint. first map. So after qualifying from this first map, here are my official thoughts simply placed down for this map. This map really feels like a dream to me because of how the details that are placed in this map. And there are lots of decorations and all the details are pleasantly placed out on the map itself. The only few things I can say about this map that is more negative is perhaps that newer players might not understand what they will have to do. But at the same time, I'm also aware that if there are so much more hints on this map, it would ruin the overall feel of this map. Therefore, I would say that players would eventually have to adapt to it. The other point that I would say is more negative is perhaps the starting area where I was talking about the feasible objects that I actually ran through a couple of times, and after checking out the information from the official creative, it will appear that that is actually a sticker rather than a feasible object, which stickers itself in real life obviously cannot be phased through, but it is in a game after all, so maybe the physics are a little different. And now for my official rating for this map, I will be giving this a very aesthetically pleasing 8.8 out of 10. Mainly the only reason why this map is a little lower than some people would have initially expect is that newer players might not understand the starting part is actually made of a sticker floor, as I will call it, and that you really have to know where to be able to navigate across in order to play through the map. But overall, there is really a fun time in the map that players can experience, as well as the ending finish line, even though might have been indicated by the tower at the end. I would actually say that it's still a little unclear for newer players unless they decide to explore every single part of the map for unknown reasons, which I can tell. Newer players are newer players after all, and I can only replicate their experience to the best I can. So from a Dreamland storybook or a color book, let us move on to the second map in this episode. Our second map in this episode is titled Slimy Creamy by the creator Pringles Velo. So there is a tip in this map that says jump and dive without the usage of 360 diving, which is a much more complicated concept for newer players to understand. So let's see run through this map. And is this map simply just sliding across the various obstacles? It's relatively fast paced, however. And there is a first negative respawn. Slime floors are too slippery for this door, it will appear. So as you guys will be seeing in the gameplay itself, I have struggled on this section a lot of times. I would say that this map is really not for the newer players because of how much inconsistencies there are in the map. strangely enough, this area of the map is actually the hardest part of the map for players to actually navigate across, and I have already lost track of how many times I've respawned in this section alone due to the different inconsistencies that I have experienced on the map itself. If any of y'all are wondering why I didn't choose to cut out the gameplay footage, I'm attempting to replicate what a newer player might experience as they are running through this map. So until the map timer comes out itself, it is rather complicated for me to just say that I can just simply back out of the map. And there it is, we have the timer that is counting down. Of course, if any of y'all were to ask if I can qualify on this map on my own time without the benefit of extra frame lags or anything, yes, I am able to, but even then, there is still lots of complications involved. So for my official thoughts on this map, the only advantage I can give this map is that players will be able to at least experience what it is like to be able to slide around on the map. There are really a lot more negatives than positives for this map that I can find. The first part is that players will have to do lots of more experienced jumps, lots of detailed positioning in order to clear certain sections. And even in the section that I spend the most time on in this run through of the map itself, you have noticed that that section itself, as well as the next section, is sort of RNG based for players who are playing on lower end performances, or their performance might be impacted due to doing additional things like whether be it streaming or video recording, where they have to suffer additional frame lags in order to just get some things shown properly. Some other negative pointers would include falling for at least 5 to 10 seconds based on the section that you are on, and considering how much budget that the creative maps can offer right now, which is 2000, I think this map can actually benefit from lots of more respawn zones, and some other parts would really involve is that get allow the newer players to be able to understand how to slide properly without lots of um, skilled timing. And really the first main obstacle is when I first reach the area with the fan at the speed up, they'll instantly blow me upwards. I think that little platform might just be a little too high, because considering how the slime floor works and how the speed of the fan and combined with the speed arc, I would say that a shorter height platform would benefit players a lot more than some players would actually be able to think of. But regardless, that's a lot of thoughts for this map. But here would be my official rating for this map, and it is sitting at a unfortunate number of 4.5 out of 10. As I've previously mentioned, the gameplay of this map might be too complicated for newer players, even though the basics of the map is just to know how to slide. But the timing, not knowing how to be constantly diving on the map itself, is also a factor that newer players might not simply understand. And I would say that for certain section of the map, which turns out to be the section that I struggled the most on this run through, the map itself isn't just fun, as I would say, because it takes what I will call a speed up coyote jump dive, and newer players definitely will not know how to do coyote jump, much less time it with the speed arc. For the amount aesthetics wise, I can really not see lots of any aesthetics. The only things I can see are the clouds and only slime floors really. The blizzard fan serves more of an obstacle as compared to an actual aesthetic to be placed on the map. Overall, this map is fun for a normal challenge on regular times, but for newer players, I would really not recommend you try this unless you want to learn your timings for slime diving. With that, let us actually move on to the next round. Alright, so for our third map for today, we have Treetop Gauntlet by the creator Spidey991YT. So at first glance, seeing the finish line directly in the distance, I would say that this is relatively a short map. And here it is, we have already reached our first checkpoint, it will appear. And what? How did I not get lost the first time? It looks like there are at least numerous checkpoints for players to reset if they mess up, and taking the middle hunting glove, it seems to be faster than the others, and we will be able to quickly qualify from this map. So for my official thoughts on this map, as you would see it right now, it is a very quick map in the jungle theme setup, and for players who are a little bit more observant, this map is actually a complete recreation, albeit in the jungle theme, of the developer's creative map titled Gentle Gauntlet, as this is something that I've seen certain players do, where they decide to recreate maps but in their own twist, in their own flavors, and whatever else that you can come up for this particular scenario. The negatives about this map is really the one part that I was pointing about, where it goes to the drum bouncer or lily pad that did not immediately bounce me up even though I was on it itself. Till this point, I am not too certain whether that has an issue with alignment or any other issues that no one is manages to figure out. If anyone of you watching this video understood what is the issue, do leave it down in the comments and maybe eventually this can be improved upon. So for my official rating of this map, I will be giving it a 8.05 out of 10. There are a couple of reasons why this map is still this high up, even though this map is simple and there's not much aesthetics. Because of how short this map is and how linear this map really is as well, the points that have been distributed to these two categories have already boosted the rating upwards. And I am aware that the creator of this map has previously asked me to rate this map, and I have given it a slightly higher rating. I will not reveal how much was the original rating I have given it. But as I ran through this map on a separate occasion, in order to so-called speedrun the map on my own terms, by complete accident, the area with the hammers, I accidentally got yeeted out of the map due to me jumping, and the hammer just boosted my momentum out of the map. I am not certain whether players will eventually suffer from this particular issue, but this is where I will have to consider every single possibility that can indeed happen. So with that, let's move on to the next map in this particular series. Our fourth map for today is called Misty Mountain by the creator Top34. The description reads, hike up the mountain and dodge the obstacles and reach the finish line. Alright, at first glance, it seems that we are in a mountain, and the jungles have mountains. That is something that I might not be too aware, as I am not an explorer in real life. But regardless, I see that there are lots of checkpoints already listed across the map, and I wonder if this is going to happen, where there's an unintentional recovery skip that players can make use of. Hammers make a return in this map as well, but they pose less of a threat, as I think they would, but newer players can experience differently. Another checkpoint. Another one after the flying score earlier. It was nothing damage. I just did an unintentional skip. So let's actually just trigger the next checkpoint over there. I have no idea why is this punching block present. Let's pull the punching block somewhere else. And now, the navigation of a river. Now that the map has successfully been completed, I would say that this is a overall easy map, and here are my official thoughts on it. Again, from my simple gameplay of this map, even though the map is titled Misty Mountain, I feel that there's a very striking similarity to the map Slime Climb, as the map also involves us walking from one part of the map, be it the right or the left, to the opposite side, and then repeating until we reach the eventual finish line. The only difference between this map and Slime Climb is that there are lots more checkpoints, and this can be beneficial for newer players, as I can see some of them will be able to struggle on the first conveyor section, like I did, because of whether low-end performance causing issues or whatever else that can potentially be a troublesome hazard, I would say. Because of the number of checkpoints in this map, I cannot really think of a potential negative thing I can say for this map. So with that, I will give my official rating for this map, and it goes to be a 8.7 out of 10. This map really allows newer players to adapt without much difficulty because of how many checkpoints there are. So maybe eventually with maps like these and a mode that us players would most likely want would be the Rising Slime. I would think this map would be a little bit more tricky should there really be Rising Slime chasing us to clear the map as soon as possible. But for now, as of this current version of the map, I would say that newer players can indeed relax and have some fun. Now then, we shall move on to the final map in this episode, and you guys will not like this map at all if you really are not experienced enough per se. A newer player would definitely struggle on this map. I would give a fair warning first. Our last map for today is called The Sunken City by the creator Gadget9090. The description reads that there is a actual long and difficult parkour to complete, so let's see how far we can do it within the 10-minute time limit. And the first thing I have to say about this map is that where should players go for the first part? Because I can see that there's a fallen tree at the very right, and players might mistakenly go there as the first thing to do. The buttons that I have been clicking on as of this moment will actually come at a later part. So please look forward to that, or if you are playing the next right now, the bean barriers at the top part of the screen, those are what the buttons trigger. Because I use players to be seeing right here, this section is really tricky to navigate across. To save all of your some time, I will directly give my overall thoughts as well as my rating for this map, because I have played through this map on separate occasions and I would say that there are lots of issues that I found. So let us move directly over to the rating itself as well as my thoughts. Alright, for my official thoughts for this map is that this map really presents a unique challenge, as the first thing I see that this is really a complicated parkour map, and certainly there are a lot of things that I will have to say that is a lot more negative for this map, because firstly we have the small entirely platforms of the nearer to the second button of the map. That particular area can really be nasty for players who are even trying to navigate across, because especially with issues like controller stick drift, or if not, I'm not too certain whether every single PC player will experience this, but for me, because I do play on both PC and the console, I realized that for PC, my bean will just continue moving in a certain angle as if the halt command is not instantly recognized, and I'm unable to really instantly respond to any sudden movements to the map itself as required. Some other points that I want to say is that there are very limited checkpoints in this map. I have no idea why that is the case, because for long and difficult parkour, for players to be reset almost an entire length away when they made it to a huge section, I would say is very disheartening. Initially, I actually had conflicting thoughts about the time limit for this map. However, I rethought about this in detail, and I think that the time limit is still feasible for players, but it makes them have the possibility that not much mistakes can be made, because once you make mistakes, your mistakes will just keep piling on, and with limited checkpoints, where I would say the first checkpoint only appearing after you essentially got all four buttons to connect and allow for the next path to be passage across, it is going to be less fruitful than players would recognize. Some other parts that I would want to really mention is that before reaching the second button, the platform might just be a little too high, because you would have to make use of the drum itself that is located on the previous obstacle in order to reach there, and the margin for error in that section is not very big. As such, let me give an official rating for this map, and I would have to give it a 6.1 out of 10, simply because I think this map can really benefit from a lot more checkpoints. Newer players cannot adapt to it fast enough, and so many other thoughts that really would just be repeating what I've just said earlier. Throughout these two episodes, I would actually say that this is the map that will require the most skill for players to qualify. But of course, that is not the issue when I'm rating all these maps. But I would definitely say, newer players, this map is not for you. With that, concluding the fifth map that I've rated for this particular episode, this will be the end of the video, and may you all look forward to the third episode as I read through even more comments that might be left by all of you, and even more maps that are potentially submitted by all of you guys. Take care and have a good day wherever you are from.